Welcome back to the Brothers Mahoney. This is Michael,
And I am James.
and today we are discussing Plastic Apocalypse, the second episode of The War Between the Land and the Sea. And this is written by Pete McTighe, airing on the same day as the first episode, being December 7th, 2025, at least in the UK. And like the first episode and the rest of the series, it's going to be released later in January 2026, thereabouts on Disney Plus for the US and other countries.
But of course, if you use ships to travel to the UK, you can just watch it now. That's how it works.
Or if you have a nice internet connection and some nice VPNs.
I mean, that's actually true. And by ships, I mean pirate ships.
Oh, that works too. And following after the end of the last episode, in which the character who has been unnamed, but we just know as Salt, the leader of the Sea Devils, or the Homo Aqua, as we know them now.
I still like Sea Devils, but continue.
Yeah, always more classic. But as they indicate that they want Barclay as the ambassador, he becomes, after some struggle, he becomes Humandi's ambassador as South forcefully requests. But the negotiations go somewhat sour once, beautifully, the Homo Aquas dump the plastic that was dumped in the ocean back onto the land. And that does not bode well for humanity.
To be fair, though, I'm not going to defend the humans much in this episode, I promise you that. But I will say a little more than plastic was given back. There was at least two things of metal, which means there's probably a lot more than just those two.
Oh yeah, plus the whole shape.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That one might go a bit foul, but whatever.
And yeah, this one has majority of the same characters who were in the last episode. I'll just run through them quickly. Barclay, played by Russel Tovey, who, on the side note, we did mention this in our discussion over the last episode, but he was also in Voyage of the Damned, the classic David Tennant story with what seasons was that between 3 and 4?
Yeah, so it's in between seasons 3 and 4, right before the glorious partners in crime.
Indeed, so we have Barclay, Kat Gannon as Colby, and though she appeared in the last episode, she had a little more relevance here. Barclay's ex-wife, Barbara, played by Anne Akinjern, she got a little more to do here. We also have Salt, who is the leader of the Homo Aquas. She is played by Gugu Bathara. And another thing we didn't mention, because to be honest, we didn't look deep into the cast as we did this time around. But apparently, this is the same actress who played Martha's sister back in Series 3. So that's fun. We also have Patrick Beladi playing Keith Spears, who is, I don't think it goes into detail about what type of businessman he is, but he's some type of business. In fact, I see a member of parliament.
I know he was a soul, I think. Honestly, I can't remember the specifics of what he did. We just know that he had apparently an heir to the prime minister. And I don't think he was a member of parliament just because he signified that the prime minister often listens to his biggest donors. So it's unlikely that a member of parliament is going to be one of the biggest donors. You're not both a member of parliament and the donor. It's not usually how it works.
And he's part of a group trying to undermine this whole conference, trying to find peace and common ground with the Homo Aquas, which includes a member of the French military, General Dominique Dustelaire, which is a beautiful French name.
It's one of the more French names I've ever seen in my life, and she was played by Barbara Probst.
And then we have General Asko Gansborg, played by Stuart Alexander, who we believe is the third member of this little group trying to undermine the conference.
Yeah, and he was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was American. Obviously, Dominique was from the French military side. Keith Spears is a businessman representing the UK side, and Asko seems to be American. So it's the three biggest evils of the world right now. Who's surprised?
And of course, we also have Kate Lethbridge Stewart, played by Gemma Radgrave, Christopher Abraham, played by Alexander Divrent, and Shirley Bingham, played by Ruth Malady. And all three of them appeared in the last episode, but they didn't appear that much. So here they had quite a bit more to do. And in fact, this episode had a lot more meat to it than the previous episode did. Previous episode primarily just set the scene. Like what the first 25 minutes was just Barclay being brought to this like coastal area, and we slowly find out what's going on. So I'm not saying a lot did happen in the first episode, but a lot did happen in the first episode. So I am saying that. However, this episode things pick up quite nicely, and there's actually quite a bit that goes down here.
Yeah, so much went down in this episode. I forgot things that happened at the very beginning because of how packed full of stuff this episode was.
Yeah, and we start off with the chaos of Salt's character wanting Barclay to be the ambassador because they already had an ambassador lined up, but he got sidelined. Salt didn't want to deal with him. He wanted to deal with someone she trusted, someone that she thought at least respected her people, and given Barclay's actions in the first episode, just a sign of respect he showed the cops, she wanted him to be the representative. No one was prepared for this. Unit is freaking out. The government's freaking out. Like they don't think this guy is remotely qualified to be the ambassador. They tried to hold a meeting saying, "Hey, we wanted to go back to the original ambassador," and they're like, "No, screw you." And really, Unit and the UK government, they don't have a choice but to agree that okay, fine, I guess he's going to be the ambassador now.
I like how they tried, but there was literally no hope. I don't know why they thought it was actually going to work.
Like they literally have no cards in their hand. There's literally nothing that they can do. I guess they could stop meetings then. That's literally the only thing they could do.
And in
But
fact, it was the only thing they could do because that was the only thing South offered. Like, she was like, no, it's going to be him or these meetings aren't. So, honestly, it's not inconceivable to me that in that case, they would literally just end the meetings. I think that's actually what would happen in the real world.
it's
But
such as the joys of diplomacy and negotiation. So while that's going on and they're trying to deal with that situation,
Kate
but
becomes a full-out fascist.
well, yeah, abducts both Barclay's ex-wife and kid, and does a deep background check on him to make sure he's not an enemy agent, just to make sure he has no previous connection with Homo Aqua. Unfortunately, he did own a goldfish, so maybe that disqualifies him.
Kate had some actually pretty good one-liners in this, but honestly, I wasn't really paying attention to Russel Tovey as an actor at all. But he's done already in 2 episodes. He's been hilarious in the scenes when he needs to be. And actually, Michael pointed this out. He reminds us a lot of Martin Freeman, who, of course, we mostly know. I know he was in the MCU, whatever. He was past our time, as it were, in some ways. We mostly know him from Solak, where he plays
Watson.
yeah, Watson. So, Barclay is an everyman. He's a lot like that. And his little quib about, well, I once owned a goldfish. And Kate did not appreciate that. And she says he's not joking. And his reply, well, neither am I. His name is Simon. Like, not only is that hilarious, and it is hilarious, it's also, how's, like, literally, like, that's an actual serious point. How's he to know that's not relevant? It could be relevant for all he knows. It could be relevant for all she knows. They don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah,
And it's driving Kate insane because
oh,
she
she has
has
no
no idea.
control.
Yes, he has
She's
no control over the situation. Technically speaking, UNIT is non-governmental, maybe not non-governmental, but the point is they're outside the government, they're outside nations, they're a unified force, and yet, like, the Prime Minister's trying to give her commands, saying, oh, you go and then you get our ambassador back to being the correct one, and if they don't, well, at least you'll be in the room to start the war and not the UK government. And like Kate sees through it. It's obvious. He tries to make a little, oh, well, maybe as a woman, she'll be able to communicate with you easier on this issue. Like, it was the most obvious garbage, and everybody knew it was garbage, but it's politics. You have to pretend it's not garbage.
And to be fair to Kate, she does try to have a heart-to-heart with Barclay in like a clandestine meeting in a van. It's so funny. It's like, hey, you're gonna shoot me? Oh, I forgot my gun. Oh wait, no, it's right here, bro. It was sort of funny scene. But she does have a heart-to-heart saying she's under a lot of pressure from different sides, and she does think that she can work with him. And by to be clear, when I say work with him, this pretty much means, hey, we have a bunch of people writing up this document, and you're going to read it for us. But hey, at least you're the ambassador, and we can make you do that.
And as he points out, what's the point of me being the ambassador if I don't get to speak? Because that's not what Salt wanted anyway. Now, I get it. From the human point of view, I understand the desire to have somebody trained in this type of thing and to be able to speak with whatever they agree on. And I understand that when you're not qualified, and that might give more weight than you want to give. Like, I know it's negotiations, all that type of thing, but from an outside perspective, it's obvious South just wants an actual person who cares, and there's not a single diplomat in political circles who actually cares. They'll just want to get the best deal for their side. It's kind of it depends on who you side with, but since I like the Fish Boys, guess they win.
Yeah, and like James said earlier, I pretty much agree with what the Homo Aquas did for most of the episode. I mean, they might have gone a little overboard with some of it, but for the most part, I thought they were all on point. And unfortunately, while Barclay was sort of made a secret ambassador, keep in mind that he's supposed to be an ambassador for humanity, which, to be honest, I don't think that should be kept secret either. So his identity gets leaked, so it's all over the media, the news, and that's partially why his family was taken. Well, after, of course, the deep background checks. Point being, his family is now holed up in, I think, some hotel. It looked like it was actually quite a fancy place. A really nice room. As you saw, it had a nice view.
Yeah, it had a very nice view. I wonder it never sold it, but let's be honest, this is Unit. What type of interrogation did they give his child? What type of interrogation did they give his ex-wife? Like, we saw how hard Kate was on him. What happened with those two? I noticed the show didn't want to show that. How deep did these interrogations go? Did they use tactics that would be illegal? I mean, honestly, probably. Let's be honest. I know Kate way back when she first appeared in Actual Con. I'm not talking about Downtime. When she first appeared, talks about how she reformed the unit into caring more about scientific things, but they seem just as militaristic as ever. And furthermore, they have obviously broken secrecy laws, let alone. I mean, it's nice they actually do almost write the laws now, so maybe they aren't breaking laws anymore. It's the whole what was the New Vegas line? Oh, they break the laws. They just make a law to make it okay before they do it. Like, I don't know. I know that we're supposed to cheer on, hey, it's Unit. And I guess in this case, for this show, obviously the main character is Barclay for a reason. And we'll discuss a bit later on if they're going to try to pull the rag out from under us on that. It's still Unit's the gold, guys, blah, blah. That's what this show has been doing for the last 4 seasons now. Without any, honestly, of the moral ambiguity that was in the classic series when Unit was around. Keep in mind, the very second serial of John Pertwee was Unit causing a genocide against the Doctor's wishes and underneath the Doctor's nose, which the Doctor in extended media quit Unit for a bit. So, like, Unit was never shown as always perfectly good. Classic series was willing to show other sides to Unit. Maybe not in every story, maybe not all the time. Maybe they always considered they lesser evil, but they were still willing to show other sides. The new series hasn't really done that at all with Unit. And especially in the last few seasons with the Avengers Tara Unit base, they've been shown as unequivocally good, doing even more heinous things in some ways than we saw in the classic series. So I don't know. I think it's a very interesting juxtaposition in ideological understanding of the writers. It's
Yeah,
the way I like to think about it.
and it's important to know that James is a big supporter of think tank.
I'm not a supporter of think tank. Like, at least the way the show saw them off. But I do tend to look at this ideologically from a different way than what I would suspect a liberal like Pete McTighe that would. Because keep in mind, Pete McTighe's the guy who this episode is written by him, and this episode is, in my opinion, a lot better than the first one. No, granted, it's the second episode, not the first. I understand the first has to do setup. Nonetheless, I like this episode a lot more. But Pete McTighe wrote Kablam, where the Doctor was worshipping Space Amazon who abused their workers and literally did nothing to stop them and supported them in the season after the episode Oxygen. I've seen people on Twitter after we finished this episode. We've been avoiding Twitter because we haven't seen these 2 episodes. After we finished them, I went to Twitter, posted a few things, tried to catch the views of the fans. I see a lot of people actually on the whole enjoying it. It's nice. But I've also seen claims, oh, Pete McTighe's really good, make him the showrunner. The dude wrote Kablam. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And also, he wrote Lucky Day. Now, both my brother and I liked Lucky Day more than a lot of that season. But there are issues in Lucky Day. Like, I don't say Kate became a fascist out of nowhere. It's not like she didn't do tactics in Lucky Day. that I wouldn't disapprove of in actual life. If this organization existed in actual life, I wouldn't support its existence.
Yeah, and I'll just say that quick note when it comes to Lucky Day. What I like most about Lucky Day is the way it approaches the story. How it sort of takes a rock from under your feet halfway through. I think it's done in a very interesting way, in a way that we don't often see on Doctor Who. It's very striking the way the episode does it. To this day, it still sticks out with me. So yeah, it was definitely a flawed story, but like James said, I tend to enjoy it more than a lot of other fans seem to. And without a doubt, I enjoyed Lucky Day more than like the story and the engine, which hot take. But I really do appreciate how once Barclay gets back to his family in his hotel room, it gives a little more character, it gives a little more for the ex-wife and his kid to do. You see some personality there. The ex-wife is seemingly jealous about, well, I mean, the fact that Barclay calls the fish woman beautiful does not do much for her confidence.
To be fair, not that we've gotten the full story, but with the way they act, I kind of get the impression that she broke up with him. That's kind of the impression I'm getting. Now, granted, they did say it's an amicable divorce, which we've seen they get along fine enough, but nonetheless, I still get the sense she left him. I don't think it's sad as much, but that's the sense I get. So I don't know if she gets to be jealous about it. I did find it kind of hilarious when he was like, she's not a fish, she's not human, she's something else. I think that was a reply to what she said after he called her beautiful. She replied, she's a fish, which I thought was kind of racist, which I know she didn't mean it in a racist way, but the way it was done was hilarious. I was kind of surprised that after she left to go take a shower or whatever, that Kobe didn't have a small little smile and say so beautiful. I can't, because I feel like in a past season or a past series of Doctor Who, that would have happened, but they actually kept it on the down low.
And they do give Kobe a bit more personality too. They have a few heart-to-hearts with their father. I generally like the conversations. Of course, Kobe's worried that the father is now like not just nationally known, but like they're literally the ambassador for humanity in like a very real way. So they're certainly not in a safe situation. And it doesn't help when there's a bunch of people behind the scenes and even openly up front saying we should not be holding any negotiations with this species. I mean, they even have an appearance or reappearance of the Albion Party, which is a nice callback to 73 yards.
I actually enjoyed that callback a lot.
Yeah, and they have I think, former party leader named Felix Gladstock, who appears a couple times throughout the episode with a lot of anti-homo aqua sentiments. I mean, keep in mind, the Albion party is portrayed as like this far-right conservative party. We have no idea at this point in time in this timeline how fringe they are or not. But I mean, they have like a former party leader talking on like a mildly presentable news station, so I guess they have some mainstream support.
I mean, the problem is that this is mainstream media. And if anybody knows about mainstream media and pays attention, they'll talk to the leader of some far right party and treat them as normal 4,000 times before they do the same thing with even any moderately left party. So take that for what it's worth. Look what they did to Jeremy Corbyn. They outright lied about him for years. And it's public knowledge they did it, but they still did it. And now they're treating Nigel Farage as though he's just another politician, basically. And yeah, like they run those stories every now and then about some controversies, but they're still treating Nigel Farage better than they ever treated Corbyn. That should really tell you something if you haven't thought about that already.
Yeah, and we brought up points of the media way back in, or what would have been
The long game.
Yeah, the long game. That's what it was called. And you can go back there if you want to hear some quality points on media literacy.
And also, if you want, we'll throw two books up quickly. You could read either Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky and some other writer. Most people know it as Chomsky. Or you could read Inventing Reality, The Politics of Mass Media, written by Michael Parenti, which came out a couple years before Manufacturing Consent. They both tackle the same type of issue from different perspectives. And the issue is the way the media actually works in Western countries. And I think those are both well worth the look. I'm sure you can find PDFs of both online if you want to take the time to look into it.
Yeah, and Kobe talks to the father saying, "Hey, what's the point of being an ambassador if it's not personalized?" Like he tells them that, "Oh, I'll mostly just be reading the documents after the teleprompt, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm just reciting the documents written up behind the scenes." And Colby's like, "Well, what's the point?" And he takes that to heart. He goes somewhat rogue the following meeting, and you can't blame him. And this is a great scene. I mean, this is one of the things where I really appreciate. Yeah, so very first part of the meeting, when Salt and her people come up through the pipe waterway tank thingy, and Salt's first request is that she would like a glass of water, but not one of these nice glasses of water from these pictures all around the room. She wants a glass of water from the Thames. So this is sort of a funny scene. It's not portrayed as funny. I just found it amusing. Where like the military is rushing outside to go grab some water because it's a vital part of this negotiation. And they're just rushing out and they have guns like, oh, hey, make sure, the way there might be some type of sneak attack. I mean, it's obvious to me, it's obvious to James. I feel like it should be obvious to most people where it's going. It should be obvious why she's asking for a glass of water from the Thames. But apparently the military is like, oh, it's some type of secret attack, got to get our guns.
Honestly, I'm surprised they weren't American.
Yeah, and once they bring back the water, and it doesn't look good. Like, I want to drink that. Obama might, but we'll talk about that. And they try to offer it to her. It's like, oh, no, it's not for me. Sort of indicates Barclay, it's for you. Drink it. And Unit ran just can on the water. Well, it's not so much as can. They know it's in the water. I forget what they list. It wasn't gold. There's multiple things. Like, you drink that. There's at least 2 or 3. I think Leechness might have been one of them. I don't know.
E. coli.
E. coli, yeah, that was definitely one of them. They know the water's contaminated. They know that he shouldn't drink it. They're saying, hey, do not drink it. Like the prompt says, I cannot accept your request to drink this water. It's some like bullshit governmental speech. Like that's partially why this thing it's never going to work on a side note. You got rid of a script and you just sound like a generic government guy. You have to be like a human being. It's one of those situations where he's like, hey, I see the point you're making. The water's polluted. And at that point, he just goes rogue. He takes out the earpiece. And I think, I forget if it's that scene or maybe later. It's probably later. But at one point, Kate makes a reference like, oh, it's trying to work with the doctor. And I do appreciate that comparison because the doctor would just do what's right no matter what other people tell him he should be doing. He just does what's right. And I think, honestly, Barclay, while he did get a lot of personality in the first episode, I really think he's tapped up in this one. Like, I legitimately like his character now. And he sort of goes on a little, I'll say rant that might sound dismissive. I don't mean it that way. About how we being humans screwed up. We polluted this land. We screwed it over. Our children know we screwed it over. And yet we have really, despite what we might say, there's no intention on fixing it. They're never going to fix it. They can't fix it. He goes on a little thing just admitting, hey, we know that we fucked you over. I'm sorry. And it sort of solidifies, in my opinion, and in South's opinion, that she chose the right ambassador. And in fact, I think she even says, hey, you're my favorite human. So fingers
This is
crossed.
always a fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, fingers crossed that Barclay and South hook up at some point.
I mean, it's not impossible. It really isn't. For the first episode, I was wondering, hey, are they maybe hinting at a relationship between him and the Miss Exposition?
She probably appeared in this episode, maybe.
She was there.
Yeah, she might have been there, but she didn't do anything. I really actually sort of hope that she pops up again in some capacity later, like doing more.
You know, I say Miss Exposition a bit as a joke. I actually liked her character for the bit, very small bit we got her for. I actually like her. I have nothing against her.
Oh, and on a quick side note, when I mentioned that Barclay should hook up with South, and I'll be supportive of that, we actually do see a little bit more of Kate and Abraham. We, of course, saw I forget, was it in Reality War? I forget, we saw them kissing in some previous episode. You saw some complaints online. I don't care one way or the other because I was never big on Kate. Like, I don't hate Kate, but I don't particularly care. Like, I could take it or leave it. We do see Abraham and Kate in more like a traditional relationship. He's even staying at her house, which seems really fucking risky to me. But I guess to be fair, she's a heart of unit, and while she may have enemies, like fuck are they going to do to her?
Yeah, see, the funny thing is, I saw this on Twitter too. Nobody likes that. The only people who like that seem to be the right-wing Doctor Who fans, which, for the record, we're not. I don't know if that's not clear by this point. I mean, I just suggested a Maga Paranti book. So, one, it proves I read, so already it shows I'm not right-wing.
Oh snap.
So, yeah, I don't know. I also like the relationship, like, and it wasn't even the reality war, it was Empire of Death. It actually goes all the way back there, where they're like holding hands at the end of that story. And I guess something might have happened in the reality war. I don't know. I forget it. Billion things happen in the reality war, and they switch reality like 2 times. Who's supposed to remember that?
Hey, there is a scene though when Belinda goes to scream, and that's like the proper reaction to the episode. So I can appreciate that.
Finally, I don't even remember that scene. Honestly, the last thought about it, and the fact that this series, 2 episodes that were good, 1 episode, this one that was really good, is following. I get it, it's a different series, but it's following a extremely sad power to a party from the end of the last Doctor Who season. It's just fun how Doctor Who really runs the gamut. From it can be absolute trash, like, and not even good trash, just actual trash, to good actual television.
Yeah, see, if this was a clear, I'll make it clear. I was somewhat ambivalent toward the first episode. Like, I didn't dislike it, but I just didn't feel particularly strongly during it. I did actually like this episode, and I really liked this episode. I thought it was a pretty good episode. I thought it was paced well. I thought there's a lot going on. Like, you get some backdoor shady things going on in the beginning, like a lot of politicking. Then we get a lot of environmental message. Maybe some of it's a little on the nose, but to be fair, if you were to fix the issue and address the issue, maybe you have to punch someone in the face to make them see this even an issue to fix. So that doesn't even bother me, to be honest.
You see, this is on the nose, but it's on the nose in a much more realistic way, in my opinion, than
Orphan 55. How
yeah,
so?
Orphan 55. Like, Orphan 55 was stupid. Like, and I would have to talk about that in like 4,000 years. I don't know, it's going to take us a while to get there with the way we're going. But Orphan 55 is, oh, the world's bad, but humans together have to change it. Well, I'm sorry, 13th Doctor, but that's not how it works. Humans can't change shit. It's the people in power who control things. What, me recycling a single plastic cup is going to change something? No, it's the multi-billion-dollar corporations polluting the world, not somebody who drinks at a Starbucks and throws a cup in the wrong garbage can. This
Yeah,
isn't something individual humans fix.
and I do think Barclay, as the everyday man, he knows this. He knows that the document that he's supposed to be reading and trying to come to agreement with is written up, as Kate says, by like 43 people, and it includes people of enterprise and governments, and it's full of all this language that doesn't mean anything. We're talking about like, oh yeah, by 2070 we're going to reduce something by 5% in carbon dioxide. It doesn't mean anything. It's legitimately pointless.
Yeah, the actual numbers, they would reduce pollution by 50% by 2065. 2000, that's 40 years, and that's a 50% reduction.
Yeah, and just keep in mind that Salt and her people live in the water and literally dying each day because of the pollution. And the best that we say we can do as humans, oh, we'll reduce it by 50% in 40 years. Sorry if you all have to die. It's cool. Well, it's not cool. Barclay knows that and he goes rogue. And I think it's a great scene when he does that. And I think it shows a lot of, well, I think it shows a lot of different things. But among them, I think it honestly shows Barclay as a person of a very solid morality. And I really appreciated that. And I think it also shows his honesty. And again, just solidifies South's decision to make him the ambassador. Because Barclay is told multiple times by Kate, hey, stick to the script. Now, I don't know if Kate's stupid. And to be fair to Kate, she at one point says, okay, wait, no, he's doing an okay job, even though he's off script. But the script isn't going to work. And if you are thinking about it, you should know it's not going to work because he's supposed to read off things that are blatantly untrue. Among them, like the generic, oh, we are committed to tackling the problem of pollution. It doesn't mean anything. It's literally politician speak that means nothing. It has no meaning. And he's looking at it like, you want me to fucking read that? Are you joking? And
Yeah,
you
at
can't
least
blame him. Like, why the fuck would anyone read that?
yeah, at least 2 times when he's looking over what he's supposed to be saying, he just sighs because it's so stupid. He doesn't believe it. It's obvious he doesn't believe it. And it's obvious they don't mean it. Oh, we are committed to tackle this pollution. It's our utmost concern. You're doing 50% in 40 years, and that's your utmost concern? Really? Go fuck off. Like, it's absurdity. I don't have much money, but if anybody is a good writer, I want to commission, get in touch with me. I want to do this story, only make Barclay a Marxist Leninist, and let's see how this conversation goes. Instead of his general, oh no, the working man, I want specific Marxist Leninist ideology, and I want to see how Kate and everybody else would react to that being the spokesman for humanity. Because that, I think, actually, in that case, he would have been killed.
I think that Barclay's character is one, he's sort of coming into himself. Like, it's not clear to me that he has voiced these beliefs that he clearly believes them, but it's not clear to me he's actually voiced them in any meaningful ways in the past. Like, he seems really pumped once he gets back to the hotel room. He's like, I think he's like legit, he's like pacing because he's just so excited. And I do like seeing his ex-wife and kid are both happy for him. They're both supportive of him. I like that. That's a nice little scene right there. So he might not have like a deep analysis, but he just knows what the government and what units trying to make him push on to South and the Homo Aquas. He knows it's wrong and he knows it's not right, and he's trying to do something about it. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, at the end of the day, this isn't written for communists. This is probably written for just normal people who get the general sense, yeah, this is wrong. And one of my worries is that Pete McTighe, who is one of the showrunners for this film, I think along with Russel Tovey, is going to pull something in the last few episodes where, I don't know, maybe he's deep undercover, and what's the term? Sleep with Saul. Maybe he's asleep with someone and he doesn't know it. Maybe his goldfish hypnotized him. I don't know. Like, because they have to do something. Because so far, unless you're the most absurd human, or if you're rich, like, it's obvious which side's right. There's no question that Barclay's right and that the government and the politicians here are wrong. Should there even be a debate? Now, in real life, it is, because there are people who are rich who own the media who then post
Well,
out propaganda.
let's not talk about the companies and corporations who keep polluting no matter what quote unquote fines could get lobbied on because they have the fucking money to pay it anyway.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it was hilarious. During and after an event that we'll talk about in a bit, they wanted to declare an armistice truce while the meetings were going on. And then South, I pointed this out myself, and then South said that 2 seconds later, a truce on that, but you're still going to be polluting during this time, and that's a fucking water. How is that a truce? And she's right. How is that a truce? How does that actually do anything? All that is hey, you stop doing your stuff, we'll do everything we want to do. It's the way the Americans deal with North Korea, with the DPLK. Like, we'll do whatever the fuck we want. We will do our military training exercises right on your country's borders, but you're not allowed to build a single weapon.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, oh, we're allowed to have missile bases in Turkey, but what Russia kind of or the USSR kind of a missile base in Cuba? Like, excuse me, why? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so South's right.
Well, and there were other elements too to the armistice, and I do think, as to be somewhat fair, some of these might be a bit hard. Like one thing that South wants done, they don't want anyone to travel by water, so no international shipping, no boats can be in the water. Humans have the land, they have the water. No, the humans were willing to give them some of the ocean, but they being the Homo aquas, wanted all of the water. So that would end international shipping, at least by boat. It would on cruise ships, but it doesn't come up. Who cares about the cruise industry? My point being that that part's maybe a bit hard to accomplish, but then it gets even a little more, I would say, unrealistic because they also say that you can't use airplanes over the water because the air over the water counts as part of the water. Now, it makes sense because any pollution in the air above water is going to impact the water. I get it. But in both the shipping industry and like airplanes cold turkey like that, it's just like even if that would be maybe the ideal to reach shore, it's not something you could immediately do anyway, to be fair.
In response to that, I would say that the way that negotiations work is you start from your maximal proposals. So maybe they could have had some conversations. I would expect what would happen in a situation like that during a discussion between actual interlocutors who actually wanted to get to a good deal. that perhaps South, or maybe a representative council eventually, depending on what part of the water they're talking about, would, for a fee, allow certain countries to use a bit of water to get to one place to another. That's what countries do with things like canals. People don't get to just use our waterways for free. That's not how it works in the real world. I don't know. Well, I mean, I do know, but I don't know why they possibly thought, oh yeah, we would just be allowed to travel on their water with our ships without paying them anything, and we just get to do it because. No, you aren't. It's absurd. So yeah, I get that the proposals were a bit extreme, and they would have to be worked out, and you're probably not going to get away with, oh, you can't use the air above the water either. But that is a conversation to have. It's not an absolute, no, we're not going to talk about it at all. And it was getting a bit rowdy in the room, and eventually, I loved it. Barclay just turns around and says, hey everyone, shut up! Because South and her people were getting a bit agitated at that point, because all of these delegates who are supposed to just fucking be sitting there and listening as the delegate who is chosen, not by them admittedly, but to be fair, I'm not convinced that the other guy, the very pronounced English British guy, was chosen by them either. He seemed like he was a complete UK plant, honestly. But instead, they were just out shouting. Now, I understand the angle of one of the, I think, African delegates, but I'll point out the only reason Africa has part of that problem anyway is because exploitation from the first worlds. It's not like Africa's had a food crisis issue just because it's Africa. It's because they have been exploited for centuries by nations like the UK and the France and the United States. So
I,
I don't know what to tell you.
yeah, and we'll throw a link in the description to the Yala Puranti so you can educate yourself. Some quality stuff. That leads to what I imagine is the most striking part, nice action for part of the episode, in which all the plastic and, as James mentioned way earlier, and a few other objects that were dumped into the sea, lakes, oceans, gets thrown back onto land. So it's raining plastic. And yeah, it looks terrible. And you can just imagine the Homo aquas thinking, well, yeah, we have to live with this because you've done this to us. Now you guys live with it. To me, it seems like a pretty fair point. And it might seem a bit harsh because you have to imagine that some people, I don't have a number, but some people died during that. When some heavy pieces of like plastic and stuff like that is falling from the air, some people are going to die. And yeah, it's harsh, but it's also probably not necessarily incomparable to what they dealt with. I mean, when you pollute water, think about all the wildlife that gets impacted by the amount of plastic. I mean, like I said, Praxis can open your eyes, bro. And it's a joke because I actually felt this actually did a much better job of showing what people are actually doing with the massive pollution that we have going on. And like James mentioned, it's not even the individual person's fault as opposed to like major corporations that just keep doing it and doing it. And like I said, no matter what fines might get thrown on them, they can pay anyway because it's just like change to them.
Yeah, woo-wee, you're finding $200,000 to a multi-billion-dollar corporation. What a pity.
Yeah, see, that's why I just think we could nationalize everything and be okay.
I mean, ignoring that, I mean, you need to get into like nitty-gritty things. But I'm going to make 2 points to defend the Homo aquatis plastic apocalypse, which is what the name of the episode is called here. One, I'm sure there was not an unfair amount of homeless people who might have died, perhaps, got injured due to this event. How many places do you think allow the homeless people to come inside while this is happening? Because I know for a fact there are going to be businesses who would bar homeless people from coming inside, even if something like this was happening. And I know because there are businesses that don't allow homeless people to come inside when it's negative 40 degrees outside. So spare me this, oh, how could you kill the homeless? Why the fuck are they homeless? Because of the countries and conditions they live in, for one. And two, the whole, oh, people would have died during this reminds me so much of the, oh, 2 trillion people died under communism. The number gets bigger every second. Maybe now it's 3 trillion. Argument that you hear in leftist circles, well, from the right and liberals and idiots. But none of them seem to know how many people died under capitalism. They can always come up with an amazing number of all deaths under communism. Not a single one could name how many people died under capitalism. Not a single one. So spare me any of all people died. Like, yeah, and how many Homo aquae have died because of the pollution. Now, you could make the argument that it's not completely fair because humanity didn't know the Homo aquae existed, and in fact, even business owners and leaders didn't know Homo aquae existed in the water. That's not the most unfair point. But they did know that pollution is damaging the environment. They do know that it kills animals.
Well, I
They
was gonna
do know.
say, like, even if they didn't know the Homo aquas were in the water, they knew that fish and other wildlife was in the water. So yeah, it might not be killing things that quote unquote maybe look human-ish, but still killing life.
So, but I mean, I think I'm not going to claim to be well versed in it either. But I'm not one of those people who thinks that a fish's life is equal to a human's. I think sentience matters a lot in terms of respecting life. I'm not saying we can torture animals, but I'm just saying I do not see the killing of a fish as the same as the intentional killing of a human or as a Homo aqua. Like, and that's a discussion that is perhaps important to have, and I think society should have that discussion. I'm just saying I'm not convinced of the argument. So I think there's a slight distinction there, but it's not a distinction that makes me think this was a wrong action on the part of the Homo aquas.
There's a line because it's like a tragic and it's an action-packed scene. There's all this plastics falling at the time when Barbara and Colby are being taken to like a safe house away from the hotel. So they have to get back to this governmental building where Barclay is stationed, where this whole meeting is taking place. And it's a pretty good sequence. All this plastics falling from the sky. It's dangerous. In fact, I was briefly reminded of movies like, oh, I don't know, Day After Tomorrow on Greenland. Now those are more like action-packed environmental disaster movies, whereas this is like plastic, but similar sentiments.
It
But
did actually, now that you mentioned, remind me of Day After Tomorrow, yeah.
yeah, so there's a line by two characters. I know one of them is the I forget the guy's name. He was a black general who didn't matter much in this episode, but he appeared in the last episode.
Oh, Austin.
Yeah,
Austin Pierce.
Austin. Yeah, Austin was talking to another character, and the character's like, "What have they done?" And he was like, "They're declaring war." And I'm like, "No, you fucking idiots! They're just giving you back the fucking plastic. That's not a declaration of war. Say
Yeah,
thank you for the gift, brah."
and Salt later made the point, and again, I said it before Salt said it. Like, Salt knows, man. Knows a lot more than some people. And she said, well, you declared war generations ago. This isn't declaring the war, this is just a payback. The whole, and I mean, it's so true to life because this is a type of shit that happens. I probably have to be careful about how I phrase this. Armed resistance to Israel did not just pop out of nowhere. It's not like they just attacked Israel because they're Israel. They attacked Israel because they're a genocidal ethno state that is basically a terrorist state. That's why Israel is attacked and resisted with arms. Now, no laborers get all uncomfortable. Oh, you have to be the peaceful victim and have the boot to the face. You can never fight back. If you fight back, you're automatically as bad as them.
They always talk about Martin Luther King and not Malcolm X, when Malcolm X was probably a lot closer to being correct.
And they always talk about civility. And I know laborers love to have rehabilitated Martin Luther King. They did this same thing with Nelson Mandela, by the way. I'll point out Nelson Mandela was an armed revolutionary fighter who was in prison for decades because he took up arms to defend their rights. But now he's just been rehabilitated by laborers. Just like Martin Luther King Jr. warned about the dangers of the white moderate laborers. And I'm not going to give the whole speech because I'm not Martin Luther King. But we'll, I don't know, throw a link or something to that effect. It's completely on point. It was on point in the 60s, and it's on point now, and it's on point in regard to this show. But yeah, laborers love for people to just be victims, and the second you fight back, you're automatically a bad guy. But yeah, sorry, that's not how it works, and it's a brain dead take, frankly.
Yeah,
It's a take pacifism, and we talked about pacifism in our Dominators episode, and I probably made the same exact point then. It's a nice thought in a perfect world, but we do not live in that world.
Yeah, and just to be clear, and we've mentioned this before, and it's worth saying now, we support Palestine, we support the IRA, and there's other organizations that I imagine James can name that I can't, they would also be supportive of. Because, like James said, resistance against oppression is not the problem. When you have to violently resist, maybe it's not ideal, but what else are you going to do? Just let it happen? So again, maybe that Homo aquas were a little harsh, but from no perspective can you blame them. I cannot. And
Yeah,
it's hard for me to imagine someone who honestly, intellectually could blame them.
I can imagine there's people, but they're bad people. Liberals and conservatives both. And I don't condemn resistance to oppression, period. The oppression sort of be happening. The oppression is the problem, not the resistance.
Yeah, free Luigi. But I also wanted to mention that they easily could have ended the episode there with that dramatic, oh, what are they doing? They're declaring war. And I actually thought that is where they were going to end the episode, but they didn't.
I also thought that as well, yeah.
They had a nice little follow-up meeting where, again, as Ambassador Barclay's like, hey, I understand why you did that. I think he did understand why they did that.
I'll give Barclay so much credit. I thought he was going to be a bit reactionary about that because his family was in danger. He would have every right to be upset about it from a personal perspective. But he was actually a bigger man than I thought he would be. He says that he understands why they did it, even though his family was in danger. And the thing is that, it's not quote unquote fair because it's not. We just discussed earlier. It's not the people's fault that things are polluted this way in the total. It's the fault of the corporations. I don't know how the hell they actually managed the whole, all this plastic falling from the sky. They didn't go into those details, and frankly, I don't think they're going to.
Actually, it might come up in the next episode once you see more of the civilization.
Maybe.
And I think we are going to see that because the end of the episode has Salt saying, hey, we have to come up here to Earth to make these negotiations. Next meeting, I would like you to come to us. And they give coordinates. And this is one of the scenes, I don't know if I want to be critical of it, but they give coordinates and units wait, what are these coordinates? Hey, it's in the middle of the ocean. Do they want to meet on a ship or something? I'm like, what are you fucking idiots? They want to meet under the water. Where the fuck do you think they came from? So I'm not sure if people were eating idiot pills for the sake, but of course, it's yeah, they want to meet underwater. That's where they fucking come from.
I found that hilarious. They did that a couple of times this episode. I'm not sure if it was because they wanted to catch the people who weren't paying attention, because unfortunately, that's what you have to do sometimes. Well, I say have to. It's what shows do sometimes, because they know some people might just have it on the background. And I hate the fact that shows are made that way. But I think even somebody higher than Netflix said, yeah, we make shows just for people to play in the background. And Netflix, by the way, just bought out Warner Brothers. So, great job there. It's one of those things that's so obvious, it sort of even have needed to be stated, much like with a polluted glass of water. But Michael and I immediately knew, oh, okay, this is pollution. Everybody in that room, I don't know, 50, 100, 150 people should have known, oh, okay, well, they want you saw the pollution, they want us to see it out face to face. It should have even been a question. But no, they're like, oh, why would you want that? Why you want us to drink this water? We can't do that. And then at the end, what? Do you want to meet on an island? Is there an island there? Like, oh,
yeah,
you
and keep in mind, this was
stupid.
unit scientists who were saying that. What the fuck are you doing, bro? It was
Like,
Morris. Maybe
I
Morris of Links would have known.
fucking flings. Like, I don't have a college degree, and I knew before anything was said after they gave the coordinates, oh, why is there a third coordinate degree? Why do you think they came from under? Like, it's sort of, again, it's sort of been obvious. I don't know who these people are, but I don't want to criticize the episode too much because, like I said, I liked it a lot more than the first one, even given the fact that the first one had to set things up. But that was so stupid.
Yeah, and the next episode, I think, what's it called? The Deep?
Yes, I think it is just the Deep. Let me double check that.
I imagine that we'll be seeing a bit more of the society. In fact, I think, maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to make a comparison here, which it may not be correct. We'll see. Maybe it's going to be something like, the fuck is it called? Wakanda Forever? Now, to be fair, I've never actually finished Wakanda Forever, but there's a sequence in the movie where some characters go down to, or would that be Atlantis? I'm blinking. Is that where Namor's from?
You're the Marvel guy.
I know, but Namor's not my mutant. But there's a scene where they go down to the underwater civilization, and I'm hoping that the next couple of episodes we have a lot of focus there, because I think episode after the Deep's called The Witch of the Waterfall, and I'm hoping that we force to something underwater. I think it would, because I don't know why there's a witch of the waterfall on the land that we have to worry about. Maybe it's some like sea devil underwater. I don't know. I just think, and this part, we're going to be seeing a lot more of the Homo Aqua civilization, and I just hope it holds up as well as this episode has. I guess
I
we'll
hope
see.
I hope so too. So the next two episodes are The Deep, which is going to be written again by Pete McTighe and Pete McTighe. It's no disrespect to the guy, I just didn't know how you pronounce the last name. Although I do think he's an establishment liberal, so that's why I have slight worries about where the show's going. And then again, going to be released the same day, episode 4, The Witch of the Waterfowl, written by both Russel Tovey and Pete McTighe.
Hey, and it just hit me. I just remembered Interstellar Song Contest, how they were saying that I forget what species it was, but they were wrong for like trying to bring attention to the fact that the people had been enslaved.
Oh yeah, that one. I forget exactly how we talked about that episode after it came out. It's just sometimes how to give our complete thoughts about these episodes with taking everything into consideration. When we talk about these episodes right after we watch them, sometimes things do need to take time to ruminate, and so maybe in some aspects, doing a very forced reaction isn't the best way to talk about this. Maybe talking about them after a week would be better, but that's not really how the internet works. No, it's I guess we could make it how our show works, but it's just in some ways not as fun that way. Like at the end of the day, you know, Doctor Who fans, we want to be part of the discussion. We want to hear what other people think. We want to get our thoughts out there. But that episode, I've I've seen a lot of great takes on that episode from more leftist point of views, and I'm not going to name any content creators to vouch in those regards, but there are a lot of good takes on Interstellar Sound Contest that call bullshit so hard on that take. And the whole, oh, you're singing a beautiful song and somehow that fixes the genocide of your species. That's how we solve the Gaza issue. Just let a Palestinian sing at the Eurovision where Israel is somehow allowed to compete.
Well, hey, a lot of countries are leaving the Eurovision anyway, so
Those countries should be bombing Israel.
you're not wrong. But yeah, I have moderately higher hopes for the next couple of episodes. I hope they can keep it up. Like I said, I wasn't sure this would be all that interesting, to be honest. First episode was decent, but this episode I thought had a lot of strong elements to it. And even though there's only 3 episodes left, I do think right now, and this is only 2 episodes in, so I don't want to come across as too strong. But this is at least, I think, the most consistently solid Doctor Who material we've had, at least on TV. I'm sure there's been solid Doctor Who material and Big Finish that we just have experienced. But at least as far as television goes, this has been, at least with 2 episodes, it's been pretty solid so far. So I hope they can keep it up. And I really hope that they can land the finale. That's, like James said, that's the thing I would be most worried about right now.
Yeah, Rashidi Davis, at least in the past, I've gotten the feel he at least understands leftist concerns. But the thing is, Pete McTighe, I do think he's a bit establishmenty. He reminds me a bit of Chibnall in that regard. And I'm just worried about how Pete McTighe is going to get everything together. Because, again, the dude wrote Kablam, and he wrote Lucky Day, showing Unit in a very positive way as the protagonists, while doing things that would be completely unacceptable in actual reality. That should be unacceptable. And I get that for his show, you want to have some drama, you want to have some twists, and that's why I'm worried that there's going to be something going on. Maybe he's a sleeper agent. Maybe there's going to be some, what we talked about last episode, maybe there's going to be some warmongers on the side of the Homo Aquas as well as with the humanity, with the humans. And so that's the type of both sides type of thing that I would expect somebody like McTighe to eat up, especially when he did the same exact thing in Kablam. Keep in mind, in Kablam, the villain was the computer system that was in the space Amazon with the horrible work conditions. No, the bad guy was the guy fighting against it because the system isn't the problem. It's how people use the system. If you write that line, forgive me if I don't expect you to pull out a good ending to this series, but keep that in your back pocket. For now, I actually truly like this episode. Some flaws here and there, but like if we were ranking these, I would give this a 9 out of 10, easy. Maybe 8.5, but 9, honestly, maybe just a 9. I quite like this episode. I enjoyed this one a lot, and I agree with Michael. Like we've had some good single episodes in the last couple of seasons, but I don't think you've had 2 episodes this good back to back. Like I'm not going to look through the list now, but frankly, I'd be surprised because let me tell you, babes, as the 15th Doctor would say, space babies and Davis Code doesn't do it. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to how this ends. My fingers are crossed that it doesn't completely pull the rug out from under us in terms of messaging, because it would be kind of awkward to do, especially with the way they've set it up where it's so obvious that Homo Aqua are correct. But I guess we shall see in the future.
Yeah, and as always, please let us know what you thought about this one. Both of us enjoyed it, and I haven't been on Twitter, but James says that it seems like people are generally enjoying it. It's surprising to me, but it's one of those nice surprises. I'm okay with that. I like a nice surprise every once in a while, and hopefully it can keep up momentum, and we'll see where it goes in a week from now. Well, by the time you hear this, it's going to be that week. We know, but until then, that's all we have. But you can always reach out to us at Brothers Mahoney on Twitter. You can comment down below. As always, all the cool kids like and subscribe. So by all means, like and subscribe, bros. I'll give you a high five, virtual high five. And yeah, that's all we've got. But as always, this has been Michael.
And I've been James.
Thanks very much for listening. This has been the Brothers Mahoney. Peace out.